I'm not shooting for a newspaper, I'm shooting for my client. So it doesn't matter to me. So that's pretty much where I'm at with this. I typically will end up with another slideshow about moments, but you see how this worked about putting you in there? I pitched, everyone that saw this just now was pitched by me, simply with a story, right? I placed you in it and I pitched you. That's what this is. That's how strong the pitch is. I want you to think about that. The pitch is crucial. It is absolutely crucial. And that's how you separate yourself from everybody else that just slaps on this and talks about prices. It says nothing about who he is or who she is. The pitch, you get an opportunity to show them who you are. And that's what you're selling. Okay? So that's pretty much where I am with this. If you know what, there's going to be some online questions. We can end with questions. That would be awesome. And then we'll grab lunch, and then we'll go into camera equipment and how I utilize it, and into a little bit of shoot for the afternoon. That sound good? Yeah. You guys ready to shoot a little? All right, awesome. Okay, what do we have? We have questions?
Tons of questions for you, Joe.
First of all, are there any questions from the students?
About this? I mean, my question is probably more about how it was shot than anything. My questions probably were more about like how it's shot. You mentioned how you have a like a main shooter.
Yeah.
But these images
are all mine.
Your images, right?
So you said how it was shot. The last few frames, just so that we can get to it, which he may not be able to get to right now. Hang on a second. Those that I have here at the back end, the very last few are my main shooter's images. The formals in this particular case were mine, and I mixed it in with some other. Now, he did as well shoot formals, but the last few party frames where they're dancing with that low light and the cake cutting and then the petals being thrown at the very last frame, that's my second shooter, Rich. He did that. I call him my second shooter, but the clients know him to be the primary shooter, right? So he shoots that.
Gotcha.
I'm done by then. See, I'm getting older. I need to be out of there. I can't do 10 hours. Well, I can do 10 hours. I can do 12 hours. I've done those before in Mexico. But what I try and do is this. You get me for 7 hours. Here are the packages. I'll jump ahead. We'll cover it more closely in day 3. But my typical package is me, 7 hours, Rich or Don or one of my second shooters, 8 hours. No overlapping. Because I don't want someone to hire me for the first 7 hours, and then Rich comes on my end, and he goes for another 8 hours. Now it covers 15 hours. There's no overlapping. He starts the same time as I do. I am with the bride. I never leave her side. He is with the groom. And then he does the formals. I grab all the shots around him. Like, I don't know if you saw that one formal. They're looking at him while I'm shooting over his father's hands and where he was seated, and in the background there's a formal shot going on. So in the book, it'll be his formal, and then one of Joe's little detail moment kind of things next to it or underneath it, or somehow it's incorporated. Gotcha. And that's where it becomes a really nice fix. One of the things it's really crucial for me to do, or I'm kind of anal about, is timing the cameras. So before we go to a gig, I time my cameras to his cameras so that when we all stick it together, my client does not know who shot what. She's clearly aware of when I was with her, so all the images of her getting ready, oh, Joe was there for that, so that was Joe. But then she sees the groom getting ready, then she knows that's my main shooter. But during the rest of it, she doesn't know who's whose. And it doesn't matter to us. We know who shot what, but at the point where the client sees 800 images, it doesn't matter who shot it. Right, so it's just a seamless little cooperation of both of us.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Ask me.
So I noticed that you are not afraid to get up close and personal during the ceremony. What are your standards? Do you walk in front of the guest between the guest and the couple? Yeah.
Did you notice that when she walks down the aisle, I like walking behind her, right? And I'll tell you why. During that time, my primary shooter is in the first row, pew, whatever you want to call it, on his knees in the aisle, because he wants to document her from the front. What I'm after is his expression. So I will peek over her shoulder. I will duck down. So when I come in, I'm behind the bride low so that he doesn't see me. I don't want him to see me as she's coming down the aisle. When he sees me pop up, he moves out of the way, so I get a scene over the shoulder because I want to use Dad and her as the framing for his face. Now, what if that was the first time he saw her? Awesome. I got so many of those. But even if we set it up beforehand, it still may not be new, but he's still going to smile when he sees her. So that's what I want. And so then when they get, and Dad does this, I'm still right here. But I'm kind of low. I'm shooting up, right? Click, 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 that whole thing. And as soon as they move onto the altar or onto where they're getting married, I'm out of the way. A lot of the stuff over the shoulder that you saw, 70 to 200, racked into 200. I mean, I shoot from a distance, but I get close. Capra, you guys know the photographer Capra? He did the World War II stuff. He said, if the shot's not good, you weren't close enough. And he meant it two different ways. You weren't close enough to what was going on. But more importantly, you didn't zoom in on this thing. Right? And that's me. So a lot of my stuff, my favorite lens is a 70 to 200. It's just, for outside, that's everything to me, that lens. And we'll talk about lenses later on when we go into the shoot, but I use primes a lot too, the 85 1.2, 50 1.2, 24 1.4. Those are really drop-dead gorgeous lines. But that is also when I use flash on camera, bouncing light, and I need only 1.8 of light. Because then my flash can do it, right? I can bounce it, and I can do it all day long. Yeah. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But go ahead. Do we have questions from online?
Absolutely. Oh, did you want to ask a question?
You want one?
Can I?
Yeah.
So, in today's day and age, the internet is where people probably find you first.
Yep.
How do you take the people off the internet and bring them into the studio? The pitch is something you could easily do, but how do you get them there?
Well, actually, I get a lot of work from coordinators. I get a lot of work. I'd say probably 70, 80% is coordinator driven. You know what's interesting? When I go to a wedding and a client, friend or a brother sees me shooting, they'll come up to me and they'll go, God, I love the way you move. I love the way you work this thing. Can I have a business card? I don't have one. I'm sorry. I don't use business cards. And I want you to know the psychology behind that. High-end clients don't want to be told to see someone, don't want to be handed a card. They want to find you. So if I see that this guy's squirming, you don't have a business card? No, get a napkin. I'll give you my name. Oh, they love this. You don't understand. They write down my name. They call me later. Or I tell them, better yet, ask the bride what my name is. She'll give you my website. There's something about the high-end client. They're leaders. They're not followers. So if you hand them stuff or if you leave cards on the table, it works for middle America, the people that are blue-collar workers, and I'm not trying to globalize this thing. It's just a mentality, okay? I have noticed in the 17 years that the high-end clients that I kind of attract don't like to be handed a card. They simply don't like it. So I tell them, even their friends, I don't have any, and I don't have any business cards. So how do I get business? That way, at the wedding, when I say take down my name and they jot down my name on a piece of napkin, or the coordinator, okay? The coordinator, because again, the high-end client wants to find me. They don't want me to super blast it out there in the ethers. They don't find me that way. Do you think a high-end client goes on online and spends hours searching for photographers? They hire a coordinator, and they say, who's the best? What are you looking for? The coordinator, what kind of style are you looking for? And then she'll give a choice. I'm not the only one they recommend, but there might be 3 or 4 of us that they get to look at. So I depend on my coordinator, so that's how they come into me. It's my coordinator say, hey, are you available for X, Y, or Z? That's my business model. That's how that works. So that's kind of how I do that.
Great. Joe, well, we have a ton of questions, but we're going to ask just one question before we go to break.
Okay.
There was a lot of confusion in the chat room. Tara V. Photo had asked, how do you separate photo responsibility between you and your assistant during a ceremony. And I think because you're talking about your second shooter being a primary shooter, if you could just kind of explain that again, what you're saying, that they're getting the safe shots and you're doing more of an artistic thing. Is that what you're?
Well, yeah, they're getting the perfunctory needed shots. Typically, you get the bridal party walking down the aisle. So yes, I do relegate that to him or her. I have both women and men as primary shooters. But having said that, what I need is 2 views. So the rule for us when we go to a job is if you see me or I see you, we're in the wrong place. I don't want him or her photographing the same thing I'm photographing. And the minute I walk in and he's shooting something, I walk out. Because then we're just doing double duty, right? So the other rule is if he's doing the formals, which is the rule is I don't touch formals. I don't do table shots. I don't do any of that. I love my job. In part, it was selfish for me to look at it that way, but that's how, after 17 years, I stay fresh and wanting to shoot weddings. Because if you think about it, 17 years in and out, doing the same old, same old, same old. After a while, you become a little complacent. You don't care anymore. Oh my God, if I have to see one more cake cutting or one more bridal party shot with them jumping in the air with or without sunglasses, I'm done. So I decided I hire someone to do that. Because the couple still want that, mom still wants that, and they're entitled to it. But if I want to stay in those moments, I need to separate me from another shooter and make that shooter's responsibility all the stuff I don't want to do. And so that's pretty much how I've done it. Here are the rules. If I see you, you don't see, you see me, we're in the wrong place. B, you're shooting all the formals, table shots, anything mom wants and directs you and grabs you to go do, that's your gig. I, on the other hand, will stay with the bride and groom. I will stay in the moments. That's my job. So if someone says, can you grab our table? I will point to Rich and say, Rich, go get the table. And you know what's really great, if you think about it, at the reception, Aunt Harriet and Uncle Henry, who has seen Rich do the formals, right? Okay. Now comes reception time, and here's the dance. First dance is happening, and now it's everybody's joining the dance floor, but Aunt Harriet, after a glass of wine, and Uncle Henry, now she says to Henry, Henry, get the photographer to take our photo. So Henry starts walking towards me, only because I was closer. She screams across the dance floor, Henry, no! The other one, the real one! Yes! Go to the real one. It's brilliant. The fact that I've managed to grab someone, more than one, and we alternate who's available, to do the primary shooting for me that mom wants, everybody's seen this guy do all the formals, he must be the real deal, and leave me alone to my moments, the better my work has gotten. And it's not so much that my work actually has gotten better, I get more of it. Because I'm not pulled here and then here to do the very state, and then, oh, I missed that moment. So that's the whole reason for me to have hired people that were quote-unquote primary shooters. Woohoo. I think I answered that, right?
I'm going to...
Yeah, go ahead.
That was amazing. I'm going to sneak one more question in.
Ask me.
So 17 years and all of this experience and how you have maintained creativity and also a positive spirit throughout the whole process and continue to be giving and invested in the emotional experience. And Andy from Malaysia is wondering, have you ever had a bad day prior to the wedding or just before the wedding, and how do you deal with it? How do you get yourself back and into that moment? Yeah,
great question, Andy. Awesome. Yeah, I'm just like everybody else. I have bad days. What I've realized, and because again, it's who I am and who you are that you bring to the photography. If you come with a bag of stuff from the night before because you got into a fight with your wife, your girlfriend, whatever, it's going to affect the way you see. Because there was a time years ago where I came to a wedding, I photographed it, and I had some kind of miscommunication with the wife, whatever it was, and I was a little annoyed, and someone commented on my work after that saying, boy, you had some serious visual commentary on this wedding, didn't you? And I go, I did? I shot it like any other way, but I focused a little heavy-handedly on some of the not-so-nice moments because I was a little pissy, okay? And I was carrying that with me. So what I realized was that I need to leave everything at home when I leave for a gig. And so what I do now, I have this habit of going into a bit of a half an hour meditation, if you will. It's just quiet time for Joe. And I try and let go of stuff so that I come tabula rasa, blank slate when I get to the wedding. So that the baggage I have is not affecting my gig. And that takes, I'm still doing it. A lot of these things I'm telling you all about now is I'm a work in progress, and I'm still practicing every single day. I will never perfect it. And if God help me, if I ever say I've done it, I'm perfect now, slap me, because then I'm over as an artist, that my life is done as an artist. So it's an ongoing process by letting go of stuff that, I check in with myself in the morning of the wedding. How am I feeling? Is there anything that I'm hanging on to right now? What's my thought process? And I figure out a way by letting go of it through a little bit of relaxation and meditation before I go to the wedding. That's how I do that.
That is an awesome way to do that.
Yeah, I like it.
All right, folks, we are going to take a 45-minute break. Joe, why don't you tell us what we're going to do when we come back?
Since we come back from lunch, let's go over my bag. Ooh. This is the bag that I bring to every gig. It has everything in here that I need, and a little more, I think. I doubled up on a camera, I doubled up on a flash, just in case one breaks. So everything is in here. This is what I come to a job. And we're going to go through this. I'm going to show you some camera techniques shooting in P mode, which I know a lot of people are sweating right now. My God, he's going to teach them P mode. I'm going to talk about, hey, no M manual, no aperture priority, no shutter priority, know this camera before going to P mode. It's not a trick where I'm going to show you right now, here's how you just shoot P mode, you don't have to do anything else. It's not. It's understanding, in having shot M, aperture priority, shutter priority, how the camera functions, and then applying that knowledge to shooting P mode. And I know people say I'm dumbing down, showing professionals how to shoot P mode. Well, I call it P for professional, actually. And I want you to think about it. Why did Canon, Nikon, Sony, any of them, Fuji, put a P mode in a professional camera if it wasn't meant for a professional? Why did they stick it in there? If it's strictly an amateur mode, why is it in my professional cameras? Because if you know how to use it, it stops you from having to think. And that ultimately is my goal. I do not want to think at a wedding. I want to react. I want to be in the moment. I want to dance with the moments. And the last thing I want to do is think, oh crap, what's my shutter speed? Where's my f-stop? Oh shoot, I'm on spot metering. I should be on. No, I don't want to do any of that. So P mode does that for me. I'm going to show you how I do that. Okay, that's how we're going to do that. And then we'll shoot. We'll shoot a little bit. Available light, that's where we're at.
So excited to hear
Right
this.
on.
Okay.
Zachy X says, Joe, that was so freaking awesome.
Woo-hoo.
All caps.
All right. Cool.
And Jay says, the slideshow is so wonderful, it made me tear up.
Oh, good. Good.
And Melissa Ann says, I now understand what he meant that we leave a bit of us in the photos we take. He mentioned he's a very emotional person, and it shows in his work.
That's me.
Well
Thank you.
done.
That's
Well done.
awesome. Good on you guys.
And folks, that is what Joe is sharing with us here this entire weekend. Already, we are all completely moved, and I think we're all changed already from just this one first morning. There's so much more to come, but the entire experience of this weekend is like one of Joe's weddings. It will be an experience that you're going to take with you and remember forever. And like an album that you would want to cherish and look over again and again and again to remember the moments from this weekend, you're going to want to purchase this course to revisit in chapters the moments that really made you feel something and made you change as a professional and helped you grow. So on break, now's a good time to go over to the course page and hit that Buy Now button for only $99. See you in 45 minutes.
Great.
Welcome back, everyone, to Creative Live. We are going to get shooting with Joe Busink, and we're also going to be able to take a look in his camera bag. But before we do that, we're going to give away some prizes.
That's right. And the first prize is kind of a special prize. It is a prize for everyone in our in-studio audience, all 6 members of our class today. The good folks over at Pictage got a hold of some of their actual files that they've shot of people in weddings and portraits, and they printed something special for each of them. And they're brand new block prints, acrylic blocks, and they're absolutely gorgeous. So every single one of these images were shot by a student here, and Pictage went ahead and printed them. So Joe, talk about your experience with Pictage and why they're so special and why you like them so much.
Yeah, I absolutely love Pictage. They're clearly, you know, one of the things is that I'm a firm believer in do what you do best and delegate the rest. What I do best is shoot. And what I don't have time for and the patience and or very good at is the post-production back end of it in terms of putting stuff online, you know, having clients try and drag stuff down. So they are my post-production team. Outside of editing, which my wife does, Marilyn, and Rich cleans up a little bit of the stuff first. It then goes to Pictage, and they do everything else. They fulfill orders. Imagine a client calling me for one 4x6. I spend time and a lot of energy trying to get the one 4x6, mailing it out to them, and then it's not really worth what they're going to have to pay for that one 4x6. So, and it's not worth for me either. So rather, it goes to Pictage, and they fulfill all the orders, and basically I get a check once a month or so for the amount of orders that have gone through there. So they are my back end, and I love them for everything that they do. I trust them. They're very great in communications and incredible, just incredible. So I'm very happy to see that they gave up something for the students in class.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Pictage. I know all the students really, really appreciate the gift.
All right, folks, more prizes to give away. We're also giving away a low pro passport sling that is a $75 value. And the prizes to give away. We're also giving away a low pro passport sling that is a $75 value. And the winner of that prize is Hannah Nielsen. Her Twitter handle is Hannah D Photo. And her quote today from Joe is, "I don't want to think, I want to react. I want to be in the moment, I want to dance with the moments." So,
Nice.
Nice quote. Nice quote.
Nice.
And congratulations to Hannah.
Yay. Low Pro, awesome, by the way. Don't leave home without it. Wasn't it American Express? Yeah, but it's Low Pro. Those bags are like bulletproof, and I take Low Pro bags everywhere I go, and never fails me, never.
Awesome. All right, our next prize is from Graphy Studio. It's a material swatch book with stylish sleeve. And I was taking a look at this on the break, and it's really impressive.
It's nice.
I think one of my favorite features that I saw in it was it shows a sample of all the different kinds of paper you can print on and texture, so you actually get a feel of like what it does to a person's eyes or skin tone when it's printed, you know, with linen paper or smooth finish. So it's really, really amazing, and you can show your clients.
Yep. It's
Ahead of
great.
time.
It's a great selling tool, and it clearly answers all questions my clients have in terms of papers, all of it. Yeah, it's great. Nice swatch.
Excellent. All right, well, this is a $266 value. The winner is Melissa Richardson, Twitter handle _MelissaR. And her Joe quote is, "Style is a recognizable imparting of yourself into your work so that people know it's yours."
Nice.
Beautiful.
Man,
well
I gotta
said.
save some of these.
We'll save them for you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Graphy Studio, and congratulations, Melissa, on the wonderful prize.
Yeah, great, great.
All right, Joe, are you ready to start shooting?
I am.
We're
I
all
am.
dying to
Okay,
watch.
okay. I guess we should go through camera bag and what I bring to a job, and then maybe separate all this stuff out. So I guess we do that right here on the table. I'll pull it out, yeah?
Great.
So you guys are good for now?
All right, thank
All
you.
right, awesome. So I'm going to try and cheat your way so that you can see what I bring. Basically, Canon, look, the equipment is spectacular that's out there today. Nikon, Canon, Fuji, all of them, Sony. I happen to love my Canon simply because it is who I am in the way that I think. It's much like the way I use Apple computers versus, you know, the PC that are out there. It just fits how I think and how I utilize the gear so that I can use it as an extension is how I work these Canons, an extension of myself. So 5D Mark IIs right now. The Mark IIIs are on the way to me, but the 5D Mark IIs, I have two of them. One will hold the 2470. The other one will hold a 70 to 200. And then I have some toys that go along with it. So a 50mm macro, which I use for my close-up stuff, the rings, the stuff that you saw, you know, on the slideshows. These are absolutely some of my favorite lenses. It's a 50mm 1.2. Right next to it is an 85mm 1.2, 24mm 1.4, and one of my, and not a lot of people like using this thing, I love this particular lens, 14mm rectilinear 2.8. When I say rectilinear, this camera, rather lens, is actually very good for shooting architecture. So it has the perspective of a fisheye, but the lines on the edges are straight. So you don't get the bowing effect, number one. Number two, you will still get some distortion if the subject is on the edge of the frame when you shoot it, but in Lightroom you have that really brilliant little tool of pushing a button and undistorted. So you can pull it back in, squeeze it down a little bit, keep all of the perspective that you saw and shot full frame, but it's adjusted for the lens that you used. So brilliant, brilliant. I do a lot of wide angle stuff, and usually it's not very flattering, but in moments, I love that lens because I can capture so much of the story. And if you think about it, what we do with our gear is very much like a painter, an oil painter with their oil brushes, right? They use the different brushes for different strokes, broad stroke, very thin little detail lines, and I kind of use my lenses the same way. What's really cool about what we do as photographers is that while the artist that's a painter starts with an empty canvas, we start with a full one. Think about it. Our canvas is full and we get to decide which part of it to document, to put on paper. Maybe it's a long lens and you get a piece of it, that expression. Maybe it's a wide angle lens and you get 15 different stories in there somehow on the dance floor, all in one frame. It's just brilliant that we get a full canvas to start with instead of an empty one that we have to fill in. So I really liken my lenses to the paintbrushes that painters use, with the exception, of course, that I have that brilliant filled-in canvas. Okay, so I have 580 EX2s. I have two of them, just in case one fails me. In this day, I don't, rarely do I do this, but I really don't point flash directly at a subject anymore. What I try and do on camera is to give me light that's coming from the side at a 45. And I'm going to show you what I do in the windows here and what I might do in the church. But it's directional lighting. So instead of this way at the subject, or this way with the card up or not up, and bouncing it straight down, what you get is even lighting on both sides of the face. That's called flat lighting. I really don't want that. I want directional light that comes from a window. And when there isn't one, I create one by simply bouncing this light off the wall. I've now created a window right here. So the light comes from the side, and what it does, it gives you highlight on the side where the flash is bouncing from, and shadow on the other side, right? You know what that gives you? Depth. And that's the third dimension. And it's very, very hard to shoot that way. What we typically do is two-dimensional. It's flat lighting. It's two-dimensional. But we get width, we get height, we rarely get depth. And the way you document depth in a photograph is through shadows, the use of shadows. So giving me directional light and lighting one side of the face and leaving the other in shadow gives me exactly that, depth, the third dimension. And that's what I want. It makes, when you look at a photograph, the image look very deep, and it invites you to go in and see all that there is to see in the image. Rather than just brushing it off, a nice photo, and walk away from it, you actually get stuck, and you look at the lighting a little longer. And it's something that you really don't think about very much. So I'll show you later how to use flash. I bring a dedicated, and I know people sometimes don't use the dedicated battery packs, the external battery packs for their flashes, Nikon or the others, doesn't really matter. But I use the dedicated one. This is the Canon pack, and all it does is add 8 more AA to the system. So in all, there is 12 batteries hooked up here. And the reason that I use the dedicated packs, while probably not as quick as some of the other external battery packs, the other brands that are external that drive these flashes sometimes burn out the capacitor in here, because if you're one of those trigger-happy little monkeys, you're going to fry the capacitor in this thing. I'm not one of those. I still am pretty measured in the way that I shoot. Everything that I shoot is in single frame, so I don't use the drives, the motor drives at all in my cameras. They're never set on that. It's all on single frame. I want to choose my moment. What I'm after is the moment between moments. That's what I want to do. I want to capture the essence of the person in the moment. And the perfect moment is that one, the one in between the others. It's when the bride is looking into the groom's face as he's saying his vows, and that's beautiful, and there's a smile on her face, and the more he speaks, the shyer she gets, and she looks down, she closes her eyes, bam, there's your moment, because the moment after that she looks back into his eyes, it's that one where she closes her eyes and turns her head ever so slightly. That is the most intimate part of that moment amongst the others, right? So that's the one I'm after. And typically, in motor drive, it might be between frame 6 and 7. Because if you just, and I see that a lot, I call it spray and pray. It's, Lord, let there be one. I think I got it. I'm not sure, but please let there be one. I'd rather know that it's that one. And so that's something you also practice. Just